So, Ruth, in Europe, have you traveled much?
Yeah, actually, well, when I was younger, I went on a tour around all of Western Europe, and then when I was at university, I backpacked around Scandinavia for a month with a friend.
Nice.
It was really nice, actually. Yeah.
Wow. So, where did you go in Scandinavia?
Well, we started off in Sweden, and then we went to Norway, and then we went to Denmark. We never actually made it to Finland, but that was simply because we ran out of money. So
Mm. So, were you out in the wilderness, or were you just going from village to village?
really, we arrived in Stockholm. We went around Stockholm. We went to Oslo. We spent most of our time in the cities, although everything was so expensive. We ended up sleeping in youth hostels or on people's floors.
What do you remember most about your trip?
Probably just having no money, and so we couldn't eat really for a fortnight.
Couldn't eat.
Well, we ate breakfast in the youth hostel, and then we would take a bread roll from the youth hostel from the
Mm.
breakfast bar and have that for lunch, and then in the evening we would eat if we could afford it.
Actually, in terms of food, what do people in Scandinavia usually eat?
Um, I think they eat quite a lot of potatoes and meat and things like that. Um, I'm not sure really what a typical Scandinavian meal would be.
That's okay. You didn't have any money to
No,
buy
we
any
didn't.
food, right?
We didn't eat, so
Yeah, silly question. Um, so, what do you remember most about Stockholm?
they've got some really nice buildings actually in Stockholm. I've got relatives who live in Stockholm, so we stayed with them. And also, it was really hot when we went there,
Mm.
but it was also very pricey.
Mm. So, in every store you went into, were they playing ABBA?
No,
Okay.
thank goodness.
So, Ruth, now you are a vegetarian.
That's right.
Um, so, what is a good vegetarian dish that you cook?
Well, actually, I'm not a very good cook, so that would be difficult to say. I quite like to make like a vegetable stew with tofu in it, things like
Mm.
that. But it's not very exciting.
Well, how do you make the stew?
Well, firstly, you get all of the vegetables ready, and so you chop them up, and the potatoes, and you boil the potatoes, and then you boil the other vegetables, and you fry the tofu with onions, and then I think you just put it all together in a pan and stick it in the oven. I think
Sounds pretty good.
it's very easy. That's
What
why I can do
vegetables
it.
do you usually put inside the stew?
Oh, things like carrots and leeks and courgettes sometimes, mushrooms, really any vegetables that are in season that I can get hold of.
Mm. Courgettes. Is that squash? Zucchini?
I think it might be squash. No,
Oh,
I think it's zucchini.
it's
I
zucchini.
think it's zucchini, yeah.
Okay, yeah. I think in the States we call it zucchini.
And you would call aubergine eggplant. Is
Yes.
that right?
What do you call eggplant?
Aubergine.
Aubergine.
Yeah,
How do you spell it?
good question. Aubergine.
Wow. How do you spell courgettes?
Courgette.
That's pretty good. Now, can you spell zucchini?
Probably not. Zucchini.
Yeah, maybe that's it. One more time?
Zucchini.
Yeah, I think that's it. Zucchini. I'm not even sure.
I'm not either.
Yeah. What's your favorite vegetable?
Oh, it has to be broccoli.
Oh, yeah?
I really like broccoli, yeah. They
Uh,
look like little trees. It's nice.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah, if you just get one broccoli and start eating it, you can't even finish it. It's just so big.
Oh, you can. You definitely can.
Well, how do you cook your broccoli?
Um, just very briefly, really, because there's nothing worse than soggy broccoli.
Mm.
You boil it in a pan with water, only for 3 or 4 minutes.
Mm.
What's your favourite vegetable?
That's a good question. I would have to go with the eggplant and the aubergine.
Aubergine.
Aubergine. So the aubergine, as you call it, yeah. I think eggplant's the best.
Really? Don't you think they're sometimes a bit soggy?
I actually I kind of like them that way.
Really?
Yeah, I like them anyway. Although the bad thing about the eggplant is you can't eat it raw.
Yeah, that's true.
Mm.
It takes effort. Well, I'm going to talk a little bit about why I'm vegetarian. Actually, I became vegetarian when I was 8 years old. We did a project at school, and I found out that animals are actually killed for us to eat. And as an 8-year-old, I thought that was rather immoral. So I went home and I told my parents that I didn't want to eat meat anymore. So now I eat everything really except for meat and fish, and I don't eat things with animal fats in either. I think really I'm a vegetarian now because it's a habit, and if I were to eat meat, I think I would be quite ill. My favourite food is probably tofu, although I like broccoli and I like chocolate as well. Sometimes, because I like travelling, I go to places and it's really difficult for vegetarians because they don't really have anything for vegetarians to eat. So sometimes I just have like a bowl of rice or an omelette or something like that. But when I'm at home, I like to cook for myself, and I like to cook nice vegetarian dishes and stews and things like that. My parents didn't mind me becoming vegetarian, and I think they were really good about it, because I don't know many people who, when their child said they wanted to be vegetarian, would accept that. So I was really grateful to my parents for being so nice and understanding about it. I'm an English teacher in Japan, and when I first came here, I didn't really have very much money. So I found things quite expensive, and I went out looking for cheap bargains. I came across a shop, and it's called the 100 yen shop. It's absolutely fantastic. 100 yen is about 50 pence, that is. I think that's about $1. And you go in there, and everything is 100 yen. You can buy all sorts of things in a 100 yen shop. You can buy food, you can buy things for your house, things for your bathroom, your kitchen, you can buy ornaments and stationery and things like shampoo. I really, really like to get a bargain, and when I go in and I know that I've found something and it's worth buying, I really, really get excited about it, and it sends shivers down my spine. We have a shop in Britain, and it's quite similar to the 100 yen shop. It's called Poundland, and so everything in it is £1. Not everything is a real bargain. Some things really are pretty rubbish, but if you do find a bargain, it's great. It reminds me really of what we have in Britain called car boot sales. They're places where people go and they fill their cars full of things that they don't want anymore, and they sell them. And people look through other people's items, and they find the things that they want to buy, and they barter. So they try and get things for a cheap price. It's really good though when you get a bargain. How do you feel about that? My name's Ruth, and I'm from a small village in England. I live quite near Nottingham, and well, I've lived there for most of my life actually. Nottingham is quite famous for Sherwood Forest, where Robin Hood was supposed to live. And as a child, I spent some of my time in Sherwood Forest playing. I live in a village, and it's actually a mining village with about 1,000 or 1,500 inhabitants. There's not really very much to do there. There's a shop and a post office and a school, and my mum teaches at the school. I did actually live in Edinburgh for 1 year, And that was quite different from life in my village, because there was so much more to do, and there were so many more people, and there was so much more traffic. But I think actually I prefer living in a village because, well, if you want to go out to the shops or if you want to go to the cinema, you can go to the nearest town or to the nearest city, but you can always escape city life and you can always go back to where it's quiet and more peaceful and where everybody knows each other. But if you live in the city, you can't really escape it. And I don't really like the noise of the city. So I think I will probably live in a village for the rest of my life. My most embarrassing moment was probably when I lived in Germany. One day I decided to go shopping and I drove into town. I had a car. And I was very, very pleased because I found a parking space immediately, which was rather unusual. I did my shopping, which only took half an hour, and I went back to my car, and to my absolute horror, it was no longer on the ground, but it was suspended in the air. I really did not know what to do at this point, so I walked back into town and I went to the police station. The police were very kind to me and I was very grateful for that, and they interviewed me. They asked me what had happened and I said, "I'm really sorry, I didn't buy a parking ticket." And they said, "We hadn't even noticed that." They said, "Do you realize where you had parked?" And I said, "Well, no, I have no idea." And they said, "Well, actually you parked in the entrance to a car park, and as a result, nobody could get out of the car park because you were parked in the entrance." So I wanted to laugh and cry at the same time then. It was very embarrassing. I hadn't seen the sign, I hadn't noticed the car park, which was rather silly. But now my friends think it's really funny when I tell them the story. I also think it's funny, but it was an expensive mistake.
Ruth, what is something that you are afraid of? Like snakes, spiders, rats,
Probably sharks.
sharks?
I know that seems quite irrational, especially when I don't live near the sea, but just the thought of being eaten by a shark is horrific. I really, really am frightened of sharks.
Have you ever seen a shark?
No,
No.
thankfully.
Yeah.
I think I would run a mile.
I don't know really what I'm afraid of. I guess I don't like heights too much. Yeah. So I have to admit, when I'm on a plane, I get kind of freaked out when I fly. Yeah. You think, how is this thing staying in the air? You know?
You're always happy to land.
Yeah. Always very happy to land. And often when I go home, I have to fly across the Pacific, and there's no land. So you look out your window and you think, if something goes wrong with the plane, we can't land anywhere. But that's very irrational because most accidents, I think, happen over mountains. So
I think so. Although if you landed in the sea, then there might be sharks.
That's true. Yeah. How do you feel when you fly?
I quite like flying, actually. I quite like it. I mean, I'm quite used to flying. I've flown to a lot of places. If it's a long haul flight, it gets a little bit boring. But I like the handheld computers that you get to play with.
Yeah, those are nice.
They're good.
Now, you're a vegetarian, so what's the food like?
Oh, well, the last time I flew, I didn't get any vegetarian food.
Huh?
So I think I forgot to tell them. So I had to eat the chicken, whatever.
Really? You actually ate the
No,
chicken?
I didn't eat it. I didn't eat it.
Okay.
I just had it in front of me.
Yeah, I heard that the vegetarian meals are actually even better than the chicken or beef meals.
Really? They're quite good. I mean, when I've had them in the past, they've been quite good.
Yeah.
I've been impressed.
Well, Here's to not seeing any sharks in the future.
Absolutely.
So what did you do today?
Well, actually, I got up this morning quite early. I couldn't sleep, so I was a little bit annoyed. And then I went to church and had some lunch and...
Okay, but you said early, like how early?
Well, I think it was about 7 o'clock.
That's not early.
That is early if you went to bed at 1.
Yeah, that's true. That's sleeping in for me.
That's sleeping in.
Yeah.
That's true. You're an early bird, aren't you?
You know, last night we went out and we had the beers.
Yeah.
I was actually quite happy this morning. I had no hangover.
Did you not?
No.
I felt a little bit queasy this morning and I was a bit ashamed.
Yeah,
I didn't even drink very much. Didn't feel queasy. I think it was more that I'd not had any sleep, actually.
Yeah. Did you feel guilty in church, knowing that you still had the beer buzz?
No. I didn't feel guilty about that.
Yeah, that would be a tough one. No, I still got up this morning at 5:45.
5:45?
Yeah.
You must be a lunatic.
Well, I mean, when the light comes up and the light goes through your window, I don't know how people can still sleep. You know?
Man.
You can sleep when the sunrise don't come up?
Yeah, well, not for too... I mean, I can't sleep forever, but... 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, then my body wakes up.
The apartment I was at before this, it was crazy because there was a rooster outside. And it didn't do what it was supposed to do. Like, normally, when the sun comes up, the rooster is supposed to go... or whatever. But this thing did it at like 1 and 2 in the morning. It used to drive me nuts. So I used to always wake up at 2 because I'd hear this rooster going... and I just wanted to kill that bird.
Did you go to sleep back to sleep after that?
Yeah, of course I went back to sleep. But the bird would wake me up regularly. Yeah, no roosters here.
That's not funny, is it?
Yeah. So Ruth, who is your favorite actor or actress?
Oh, that's a good question. I think definitely has to be Ewan McGregor.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
Yeah, I really, really like him.
Why do you like him?
Well, he's really, really good looking. I think primarily I like him because he is so good looking. And he's just got really nice skin and really nice eyes and nice hair. And so primarily I think it's his looks. Although from what I've read in magazines and things, it seems like he's a nice guy as well.
What movie did you really enjoy that he made?
Probably Moulin Rouge. That's probably my favourite, because in Moulin Rouge he sings a song called Your Song by Elton John, and he sings it to this girl, and I just think, wow, imagine Ewan McGregor singing that song to you. That would just be absolutely phenomenal. I'd really like that. So, although he's been in different things, but that's probably my favourite.
Did you see him in Trainspotting?
Yes, I did, yeah.
Yeah, that's the first time I saw him, and I thought that was just a really good movie.
It's a really good film.
Yeah,
really
you know, when they showed that in the States, a lot of people requested that it had, like, transcripts.
No way.
Yeah, because the English was so difficult for American people to understand.
That's really funny.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, it's funny, though, because now Ewan McGregor is Obi-Wan. He's in the Star Wars movies.
Yeah, no, I'm not a Star Wars fan, actually, but I would probably watch it just for Ewan McGregor.
Have you seen him in the other two?
I just saw him in the first one.
Oh, really?
So.
Oh, yeah. He does a pretty good job.
Yeah, he's good. When I was younger, I was in an organisation called the Guides. Guides are girls who are between 10 and 14 who get together once a week to do things like have competitions and play games and go camping and generally just have fun together. I really enjoyed being in the Guides. There's a similar organisation called the Scouts for boys, although I think these days girls can be Scouts and maybe boys can be Guides. I'm not sure. Anyway, I used to go camping quite a lot with Guides. I remember I went one weekend, and it was the same weekend as my birthday, and I was going to be 13 that weekend. We had a really good weekend, and we cooked different things, and we played games, and we didn't really get much sleep, as you generally don't when you're sleeping in a tent with a lot of people your age. You tend to stay up all night. So on my birthday, which was the Sunday, everybody sang happy birthday to me, and they gave me a cake, and they all wrote on a card for me, and I had a really nice day. That evening I went home, and I was so tired, and I started to unpack my things, and then the doorbell rang and my friend arrived, and then one by one, it was very strange, all of my friends arrived, and what had happened was my parents had organised a surprise birthday party for me. I was so excited, but I was also very smelly. I hadn't had a shower for the whole weekend, and we had a great time. We went bowling, and it was really a day to remember. There are two things which really annoy me. Actually, I experience both of them sometimes on public transport. Often when I travel, I go on buses and on trains. And both of these things seem to occur quite often. Firstly, is when other people listen to music, they listen to their CD player or their MP3 player, and the music is really loud. I mean, I don't mind if other people want to listen to music. In fact, I also really like listening to music, and I often take my MP3 player to different places with me. But I don't like listening to other people's music, so I wish they would just turn the volume down a bit. The other thing which really peeves me is when people leave their mobile phones on in public, and the phones ring, and people never know whose phone it is, because often people have the same ringtone. But the worst thing is when people have long conversations in public on their mobile phones. I don't really want to hear everybody else's gossip. I mean, obviously, sometimes it is necessary to make a phone call, to arrange a lift, or to organize something. That's different. But when people have lengthy conversations, I really get annoyed. I wonder what you think about that.
Hi, Ruth.
Oh, hi.
So, what did you do today?
That's a good question. Actually, today I went to the onsen.
Oh, the onsen. What's an onsen?
An onsen is a public bath, and people go there basically just to sit in hot water, and it's a bit like a spa, and it's really relaxing. You just sit there and don't do anything really because it's so warm. It's really nice.
Oh, okay. Well, what did you think about it?
I really enjoyed myself. I'd never been to an onsen before, so today was my first experience, and I am quite British, and you have to go in with no clothes on, so I was a little bit concerned about that, but it went okay.
Oh, okay. Well, are you going to tell your friends and family that you did that?
I think probably I will tell them. Probably.
And
I think they might listen to this actually, so
and how do you think they'll feel about that?
they'll probably think it's really funny. Yeah, I think they'll laugh.
Okay. Well, actually, I've been to an onsen too before.
Oh, really?
Yes, I have. I actually do really enjoy it. I think it's very relaxing. If you go to the big onsens, they have lots of different kinds of baths, and one of them is called the electric bath.
Wow.
And when you go into it, you feel little tiny electric shocks, and it's supposed to be good to increase your blood circulation. Apparently,
Does it hurt?
I when I went into that one, I was very little, so I thought it hurt and I didn't really like it.
Hmm.